Hello everyone, I hope you must doing well. So welcome to the second lecture, and in this lecture we are going to discuss about the texture coordinate, right? And what is texture coordinate? So whenever we are placing any texture on any object, right, it is placing or it is defining on the basis of texture, right? And there are different type of texture coordinates, and whenever you are going to plug the node to different type of texture coordinates, and the results which you will get, that also vary, right? So to discuss that, let's back into the shading, right, and delete the cube, have the screencast also, yeah, and under the mesh let's add a plane, right, and have a rotation, right? We can also set an example by having a cube or a cylinder also, but let's continue with the plane, right? By pressing new you can generate a simple thing which you will generate it from here, right? As I discussed in the previous video, where I discuss about the various parameter written over here in under the principal BSDF. All right, so to discuss about the texture coordinate, let's shift A, right? By having a shift A you can have a different option and drop down option under which you are going to have different texture and different vectors nodes, right? So under the texture we are going to have a Voronoi texture, right? You can also search by shift A on the search Voronoi, right? So let's plug the distance into the base color, right, and this result will come, right? And let's switch off the screencast, right? By having on screencast, it is my PC is lagging, I don't know why, but whatever shortcut I'm using will explain you, right? But for now let's disable screencast. Yeah, so we are having a Voronoi texture, and let's add a texture coordinate, right? So we are having a texture coordinate, and we are having generated normal, UV, object, camera, window and reflection, right? And before starting, let's go into the edit preferences and have this, right? If you didn't have the node wrangler, it's a by default add-on which comes with the blender, so you needed to check it, right? And after save preferences, right, yeah. So when you are going to connect the generated with the vector, right, and let's add a color ramp also, so that we can define it a bit more. Okay, we can drag it like this, we can increase the scale so that the count of white circle will get increased, right? Let's put it 15, and yeah, we can decrease the random value, right? Let's keep it this one, yeah. You can change the color here also, right? But now we can keep by default, as we don't going to discuss about the Voronoi, what is the Voronoi, and about the color ramp. We having a goal to discuss about the texture coordinator, right? So when you are going to plug to the generated, right, this result will come, right? And mainly we are going to discuss about the generated and the object, right? So how generated work, right? So for that, let's add a cube, right? And under the property, object data property and viewport, let's make a wire, right? And yeah, so what is generated? Yeah, so generated is based on the bounding box, right? For example, this plane which we are having, and we added a Warner texture over it, and we plug the node into the generated, right? So it is based on the boundary box, right? In a manner, we added a cube, right? I converted it into a wire, right? So wire, the box, it is behaving like a boundary box, right? So whenever we are going to increase this boundary, right, the influence of this texture will also get affected. For example, let's have a, yeah, so if you're going to increase this value, right, the texture will also get increased, right, because it is generated on the basis of boundary, right? For example, right now we are having a boundary of this, right, but after increasing this value, right, we are having a boundary of this. So that's why it is generated on the basis of boundary. All right, and please wait a minute. Let's discuss about the object so that you can differentiate between the generated and the object, right? So for that, let's duplicate this one, yeah, and let's plug into the object, right? So before that, let's have a new material, and to discuss more about it, let's add a gradient texture so that you will have a strong grip, right? You can delete this one for now, and linear to spherical, right? And we can have Control T, right? By pressing Control T on a selected node, that you are going to have this, right? When you are having a node wrangler add-on in your setting, right, it is on, then you can simply select the node, Control T, right? It will generate these two nodes, right? So we added a gradient texture with a type of spherical, right? So for now, what we are going to do, the circle which is over here, we going to bring back into the center, right? So the location value we needed to tweak. Wait a minute, you will get the point whatever I wish to say. And have a color ramp, right? So that we can make it more contrast so that we can see the effect. Okay. Don't get confused about these nodes, right? We can discuss in separately, but we are currently discussing about the generated, right? So the node structure, we plug it into the generated, and this effect is going on, right? And what is generated, it is based on the boundary box, right? And if I duplicate this one and make a new material over it, so the double copy option is there, you needed to click over it, so it is having a different material. Okay, now you needed to plug into the object, right? Yeah, so you are having, let's have, why it is not working on the object? Yeah, okay. So this is the plane, first plane, and this is the second plane. The first plane is connected with the generated, all right, and the second plane is connected with the object, right? You can see that it is connected with the generated and it is connected with the object, and the results which you can see, it might look similar, but the main difference is the generated is based on the boundary. So whenever we are going to increase the boundary of it, right, it will get affected. All right, let's explain a little more. Yeah, we change the boundary of this surface, and the object and whatever gradient we are having, that gradient size is also get affected. All right, but this plane we are connected with the object, right? So the object is don't didn't based on the boundary, it is based on the object, right? Or you can say it is directly placed on the origin, right? So whenever we are going to increase the boundary, right, it will not get affected, right? Because the generated one is generating the texture on the basis of boundary. So whenever we will increase the boundary, it will get affected. But the texture coordinate, the node which is connected with the object, right, that will not get affected with the boundary of the box. That's why I added this boundary box over there. So right over here we don't need this, we can control Z also. And yeah, so I hope it is clear now. So what is the difference between the generated and the object, right? In the various YouTube channels, right, you already seen that. If you seen the videos and a lecture of nodes, right, probably you seen that they used to connect, by default it is connected with the generated, but they used to connect with the object, right? So you got the reason why they used to connect with the object, right? And there is one more reason why we usually connect the node with the object. It is because whenever we are having connected with the generated, it is somehow it is scattering on the surface, right? It is not placing on the surface. But whenever we are connected with the object, it is placing on the object, right? It is based on the origin point right over here. Okay, so probably one more issue which come in this process, like when you are animating something and you don't want, whenever you will increase the length or breadth or anything of your object, you don't want the gradient which you made that also change, right? So in that case you needed to unplug the generated and plug it into the object, right? So that's why that thing also come. Okay, and we discuss about the generated and the object. Okay, and the remaining one, if I talk about the normal, right, the main thing which I told recently about the generated and object, right, those are the main things, and most of the time you are going to use these two, the generated one and the object, right? But we'll explain you about the normal UV camera window and the reflection also. But even I don't use that. But regarding the UV, right, so you can use that. For example, we can hide this. Yeah, and let's have a cylinder, a cube, right? And for the UV, what you can do, yeah, so what is UV? For the UV, you needed to unwrap the mesh, right? For example, under the UV editing, right, don't get confused about the whatever I'm doing right over here, but you needed to understand the thing, right? I placed a loop cut in the center and right click, mark seam, right? It is represented by the red. Under the edit mode, by pressing U, you can unwrap this model and it is looking like this, right? And you can have this. Yeah, so we unwrap this model from the center and let's see how it is affecting. Let's add a different node so that you can understand well. Borna texture and color ramp. Color, distance, vector to vector, and UV. Yeah, so you can see that. Let's increase the count and make it like this. Yeah, so you can see that we are having the seam right over here at the center, right? And whenever we are going to place the texture, and what texture we are placing right now, the Varuna texture, right? Make it 0, so you can see the seam line is visible over here. So what it is doing, it is separating the object into the two, this one and this one, right? So that is a work of UV. Okay, regarding the normal, so what is normal? Normal is basically based on the direction, right? So when you are going to go into the edit mode, right, under the this, for let's get back into the layout, so that and subdivide this mesh. Under the overlay, you needed to have this option on. Under the normal, right, you can see, let's increase the size also. Yeah, so you can see the normal direction, right? It is pointing this one, this side, right? So there, these are normal direction, and under the shading, whenever you are going to plug into the normal direction, it will work on the basis of that, right? So right now it is defining or recalculating on the basis of normals, and it is having a texture over here, right? Basically the generated UV and the object, right? These three are used most of the time, and I didn't never use the normal. Yeah, I will tell you the truth. And the regarding the camera option, so it is basis on the log of the camera, right? Whenever you are having a logged view, so it is going to place the texture on the basis of logged camera, right? So that you can also plug, but yeah, you can see the effect. So the camera determines the angle on which you are viewing the object, which is under the perspective, right? So you can see it is changing on the basis of camera, right? And there is another one, that is window. So window is again based on the 2D, x and y axis. Okay, so you can see that effect. Okay, it is not a 3D, it is 2D, right? And it is the 2 dimension. What work and how we can use the window, I don't know also. Yeah, but I just informing you, the window is the 2D, which includes the x and the y axis, right? And regarding the reflection, it is same as the normal, right? So the same manner the normal is acting on the basis of direction. The results are different, but the reflection is also represent the texture on the basis of direction, right? I don't have any practical example to show a reflection window camera in a right way, as I didn't use these too much. All right, but the generated, the UV and the object, right? These are three which are mainly going to use, and they are most important in the texture coordinate, right? And this is for now for this video. And again, anything from your side, anything which you think I should improve, you can tell that. And any suggestion, and if you're liking videos, you can subscribe, like or share. And let's end this video, and we'll see you in the next video, that third lecture of learning shading nodes. And till now, bye bye, take care.